Hello parents, I'm Mr. Howard Yu, the founder of 1Academy. Today I'd like to help you to analyze one of the school's paper in this year 2022 Science test from this school. I'll be doing a screen sharing here. As you can see, this is the 2022 Methodist Girls School's science paper. I have blocked off the student's name for privacy. And I like to analyze especially those questions which the student has done wrongly. So question 1 is quite simple. And I would skip question 1 and proceed to question 2. Question 2, the student also achieved a right answer. And I'll proceed to question 3. There is a careless mistake here because as you can see that they say at which point along the track will the ball have the greatest kinetic energy. So the student have to understand that at this point X, the gravitational potential energy will be converted to maximum kinetic energy at a point which is the lowest in the path before it stops. So we can see at this point, point C. If the question has another option, for example here at point D, that may achieve a greater kinetic energy. However, because of this very great drop from this height, so point C, the speed here may even supersede at point D. Because from point C, it goes up the slope. So some of the kinetic energy is needed to overcome the gravitational force pulling it down. So the answer is obvious at point C. So this answer is option 3. Let's proceed. And this question, this child actually answered perfectly right. I'm very pleased. And she actually answered here. And why is this answer 4 correct? Because it says that which statement describes the movement of the toy from X to Y and to Z in terms of energy conversion. So this is a wound-up toy. So as you wound up the toy, you would have the elastic potential energy or potential energy for short. Some schools actually allow the student to just write potential energy, which is in accordance with the PSLE requirement. But as a science tutor myself, I would like my student to specify which type of potential energy. Basically, there are 3 types: chemical potential energy, elastic potential energy, and gravitational potential energy. So in this instance is the elastic potential energy being converted to kinetic energy, and as it goes up the slope, is being converted to gravitational potential energy, and subsequently at this point Y it drops, so it's converted to kinetic energy and potential energy. And subsequently when it impacts at point Z, there is this maximum kinetic energy just before impact, and is converted to sound energy and heat energy. So let's proceed to the next questions as I continue my explanation here. Okay, this questions and this diagram is very useful. It can be expanded to a section B open-ended question. And here actually the student made a careless mistake because at part X, the kinetic energy is even more than a dam because it's flowing at a high speed. So for this answer, the correct answer should be option 3. B and C is correct. Because the water released at a greater height at a dam will have more potential energy and can be converted to more kinetic energy to turn the turbine. And similarly, without the dam, the moving water from the river may not have enough kinetic energy to turn the turbine blades to generate electricity. So actually the dam actually raises the amount of water, and from a higher volume, they channel down to a smaller volume. This will increase the flux rate, which is the rate of flow, and that will increase the kinetic energy of the water flowing down through the turbine blades. Okay, for these questions, students need to exercise extra caution in reading the diagram, because here I've detected there's a careless mistake, because it says which of the following actions would cause the drop of water to heat and make it spin faster, make the wheel spin faster. So by increasing the hole, there's been greater volume of water will flow through, right? So we know that actually kinetic energy is dependent on the mass of the object or the matter and the speed. So a greater hole will result in more water, greater mass. So increasing the size is correct. Okay, this is somewhere the student is careless. Move the wheel nearer to the container. If you move the wheel nearer to the container, it will decrease the drop height. By decreasing the drop height, this will reduce the amount of gravitational potential energy being stored in the water that is falling. So this is out. Next, raise the container higher. So it's good that the student annotate the container or you underline here. By raising the container higher, this will increase the amount of drop height. This will also indirectly increase the amount of kinetic energy caused by the increased gravitational potential energy. So I have given a comment of careless again. Never mind, just be more careful next time. Okay, here it's good to annotate because this question is a pendulum questions and it specifies which graph best represents the potential energy and kinetic energy of the pendulum bob as it moves from A to B. So you can see here, I annotated here the arrow here. And I use color coding. So normally students will have a red pen, a blue pen, or even a green pen, because as you know, the exam paper is printed in black and white, so far as I know. Because as 1 year, I actually suggested to MOE to print the PSLE science paper in full color in celebration of Singapore SG50. But I think my suggestion was not being taken into consideration. So it's good to annotate with color pen in this way. That can actually increase your observation skill. So I use green pen to underline potential energy. As you can see at rest, right, as it moves from A to B, the potential energy will increase. So I put a green arrow up. And the kinetic energy, because actually if you take a high-speed photograph, from A to B as it swings to maximum height, it actually stops momentarily. So the kinetic energy actually decreases. So which graph best shows is definitely C, because as you can see, the solid line represents potential energy. It increases, isn't it? And the dotted line represents the kinetic energy. It decreases. So answer is option 3. So not to worry if you make this careless mistake, just learn from my systematic way of presenting the answers and using annotations. So section B, the student did quite well, get correct for this one as well. Okay, there is something that students need to be extra careful, especially in energy conversion questions. So actually the teacher put this comment incomplete, which I find is actually correct. I mean, if the teacher is correct, the student is a bit careless because the word more is not being included here. So this is the model answer. You can freeze screen and also get it down quickly due to the time constraint, which I do not like to delay you. Next question is correct. And there's a keyword here. Because of this keyword, the mark is being lost. So that's why 0 mark. Because actually here is the student actually knows the concept, but perhaps due to examination stress or some sort of maybe distracted during the examination moment, she had put the word elastic spring energy instead of elastic potential energy. Okay, so I can see the model answer is when the number of rubber bands used increases, there will be more elastic potential energy in the twisted rubber bands, which will be converted to more kinetic energy in the toy boat. So it moves at a further distance. So be careful. Okay, this type of questions, the next one, question 12, sometimes can be quite confusing. I noticed that usually a higher percentage of girls have this visualization or transferring graphs into statements. So I use this annotation here. You can learn this method. So first of all, you must understand the experiment. As this ruler is being stretched at a distance d, the greater the distance d, the more elastic potential energy is being stored. So as they fired the eraser, so if you stretch it to a further distance d, the eraser will land closer to the wall, isn't it? So if it lands closer to the wall, it means that the distance w or w will be shortened. So it's important. And another instance here, wrong use of keywords. So instead, this should be the correct word. Gravitational potential energy is not gravitational energy. So there's a missing word potential there. So how to overcome this problem? Okay, initially, this is actually is a blank. What they have given is a distance w and the distance d. So the student is supposed to draw lines on these two axes. Okay, I developed this method. So you can see here, I've actually added some units here. So the critical part is actually distance d. So as you can see, this is distance d, right? So if distance d is 0, the ruler will not store any gravity, elastic potential energy. So it'll be here. So imagine you stretch to the distance of 2 centimeters or 2 units, and you fire it. So 2 centimeters, that means maybe the eraser will land here, and you measure this distance from here to here. Supposedly that distance is 20. That means from here to here is 20 centimeters. Okay, then you stretch it double to 4 centimeters. So logically, it will store more elastic potential energy. So the eraser will land closer to the wall. That means the W distance is shortened. So can you see 4 here? And at this distance is here. So initially it was here, and then it's here. Then you can use a ruler and a pencil to connect these 2 dots. Connect these 2 dots, and then you will get this graph. Okay, interestingly, I reverse the axis, and that will also achieve the same result. Okay, if you see these are questions, this is called the inverse relationship graph. That means as one variable increases, the other variable or the resultant result decreases. So this is called the inverse relationship graph. So students need to be very careful, because instead of measuring the distance from the firing point, they measure the distance from the wall. This will cause an inverse relationship result. So need to be very careful, but not to worry. As you join 1Academy Science, you will be exposed to more of these questions. Let me proceed to the next section here on energy in food. So this question actually tests students' understanding that during the process of photosynthesis, water is needed. So answer is option 2, because as time progresses, the water will be absorbed by the plants and there will be very little water left. So without water or lack of water, the process of photosynthesis will cease. Okay, next, this question get it correct. So congratulations to the student. And I'll proceed to the next question. This question actually tests the logical reasoning of the greater the degree of transparency, the higher the rate of photosynthesis, which I use this annotation pH to represent photosynthesis. So the student got to know that the starch test. So in the presence of starch, brown iodine will turn dark blue or blue-black. So you can see if it remain brown, it means no starch is present. That means the material covering leaf P and leaf S must be opaque because no starch is present. So logically, the answer is option 4. So can you see here, aluminum is opaque and the black paper is opaque. But you need to make this slight comparison, because you can see here in Q, right, is blue-black. In R is traces of blue. That means for Q, leaf Q, the amount of starch is more than the starch presence in leaf R. So that means the degree of transparency for this material covering leaf Q must be higher. So that actually gives a good conclusion, because clear plastic, the degree of transparency is higher than tracing paper. So this is indeed a good question. And next, this question actually is a very good MCQ, which I awarded a 5-star. Okay, why is it very good? Okay, number one, students got to understand the degree of transparency. So if you know how to do the previous question, you should be able to do this question. But this is at a slightly more difficult level. Clear glass, higher degree of transparency, higher rate of photosynthesis. That means it will absorb more carbon dioxide. More carbon dioxide will result in more oxygen produced during photosynthesis. So you can annotate here, more carbon dioxide, more oxygen. That means the amount of carbon dioxide decreases, being absorbed more and produce more oxygen. And here, frosted glass, it can still have photosynthesis happening, but it's a lesser degree. So from here, you can actually eliminate one answer that is definitely wrong. Okay, why is it wrong? Because student got to know in P5, composition of air. Okay, in air, how many percent is nitrogen? 78%. Oxygen, 21. Carbon dioxide is about 0.04 or 0.03. Due to global warming, now the international standard is set at 0.04%. So carbon dioxide cannot be more than oxygen. So this answer definitely wrong. Cross out, eliminate totally. So you will be left with 3 possible solutions. And the best solution is number 4, because this coincides with the result here. Can you see? So it's good to annotate with color because it's printed in black and white. So setup X, I annotate with red, and setup Y, annotate with Y. So you can see the setup X is actually the solid line. The carbon dioxide is being absorbed more. Can you see it's lower? And also the oxygen produced is more. So the solid line is higher than the dotted line for oxygen, and the reverse happened for carbon dioxide. Clear? Good. Okay, let's proceed. This one question is very good. The student got it correct. And this question also a favorite question in PSLE science questions. Shorter distance means higher light intensity being absorbed. And the answer is option 2. Because this can be a straight line or a curve. So answer is 2. Cannot be 4 because this is not consistent with the experimental result. Because as you change the light intensity, the amount of oxygen produced should vary and should not stay as a constant. Okay, next question. This question she did very well. So I give her a comment very well because this question actually measures whether carbon dioxide is needed for photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, we need light, right? So definitely this setup X is out of the questions because we are not measuring light, we are measuring whether carbon dioxide is needed. So it's setup Y and Z. Good. Now, section B. Okay, these questions, she got it correct. It's only some careless mistake here because the oxygen is produced by the plant and not the water. So the proper answer should be, she would observe oxygen bubbles given up by the plant in setup X. Next. Okay, these questions, there's a wrong use of adjectives here. It's not reflected the light, it's actually being absorbed. So in this question, explain clearly why more bubbles were observed in setup A, because there's a greater degree of transparency compared to the muddy water. That's why the hydrilla can absorb more light. That will result in a higher rate of photosynthesis, producing more oxygen and resulting in more bubbles. Okay, here I think she was a bit nervous because the question actually asked, how would the number of bubbles in each setup change? Okay, so this one is nothing to do with the questions. So you must explain, is it more or less? How would it change? So there must be a relationship involved. So with less leaves, the plant trap less light. Okay, so there's a relationship. Less leaf will trap less light and take in less carbon dioxide. So the rate of photosynthesis decreases and less bubbles will produce. So take note, this type of 2-mark questions, you must show the relationship clearly. So I've done this, and I hope that you can, students from MGS, you can use my explanation in case your teacher did not explain this paper thoroughly. So I hope that you can use my explanation to strengthen your competency in answering and in preparing for your PSLE. The next one, your next challenge will be this year SA1 in May, and then followed by the prelim in August and the PSLE examination in October. Should you need more help, do contact me as soon as possible because my P6 slots are quite limited on site. But I do have intensive training to share with you in my next slide. Hopefully you can be encouraged. I'm Mr. Howard Yu, former PSLE marker and also a former MOEP teacher. And I've been helping students over the years in achieving competency in answering section B from P4 to P6. So I'd like to share with you this training and my past experience as an MOE teacher, teaching in Pei Hwa Presbyterian Primary School for 6 years, and also what the examiner look for in exam. They want precise scientific answers and able to see students demonstrating the application of concepts. So these are the expected result from a student. Students should be able to apply scientific facts, concepts, and principles in new situations. So the more situation you're exposed to, the better you can answer. You can actually subscribe to my 1Academy Science YouTube channel to learn to answer these 2022 PSLE science questions, which I think is a very good questions on frozen food. Next, you can do a screenshot or freeze the screen as I want to maximize the time of interaction with you. This is a new scoring system. So it's possible to have a mark jump from 74 marks to 84 by 11 marks. That will result in a 3 AL grade jumps. And for science, it varies possible. Because as long as the student learn it well, you can see this is a past record where I train students. These 11 students were from SCGS, and they make significant improvement through my 1 day's intensive training. 100% of them improve. I can see the greatest jump is this student from 55 marks to 83.5. And I awarded her a mini drone for excellent improvement. And I'm very glad one of the students in my past years are able to answer this question and get full marks. She's the only student in the whole class, perhaps maybe in the whole P6 level, that get these questions perfectly correct, 5.5. And actually, these questions is a PSLE science questions standard. So for those who can't join my training, I highly encourage you to purchase this book. We have taken pain and a lot of energy to publish to help students to master answering open-ended questions for both P5 and PSLE. And also remember to subscribe to my 1Academy channel, which is about 390 subscribers now. Last year, due to COVID-19, I conducted my online training on 2 days during the September break, and it was full house, and helping students to achieve these 2 grades, AL1 and AL2. That's my objective. And once again, I encourage parents, if you join early, it's possible to achieve a 3 AL grade jumps for science, be it in P4, P5, or P6. So this training during this holiday was being fully subscribed to help students in PSLE this year. And similarly for this program to help P4. Okay, why is it important to do well in P4? Because most schools, if you do not know, they do internal P4 streaming into 3 categories of P5 classes. So usually the schools will take the top students in the score for mathematics and science and stream them to the top 2 P5 classes. And those lowest marks will be streamed to the bottom 1 or bottom 2 classes. And the in-between will fit in this cluster called the mixed ability classes. So it's important that the student do well in P4 because they will stay with their classmate in P5 to P6 for better or for worse. Okay, not to be missed, this Good Friday, this training is for P5 students and also for those who are weaker in P6. Okay, why is it so? Because as you know, in the PSLE, 65% of the PSLE science content are taken from P3 to P5. So even though your child is in P6 this year, but he or she did not do well in her WA or SA1 coming soon, or maybe the school have CA1, you can consider this training because my next P6 training will be in June, but this is in Good Friday, which is in April, which is next month. So I have 4 seats left. And also for P5 students, Hari Raya training, but this will be a full online training, as you can see, and also suitable for P6 student. This is in May. And do sign up early because it's a full online live training. The materials need to be sent to you before the training, at least a few days before. And finally, this is my signature program. Run 1, 6 to 7, only left 2 seats. Because some parents, they block book. In past years, some parents block book like 8 seats. So do take note, Run 2 is available, 16 and 17. Run 3 is a full online. This is to accommodate students who are staying quite far and they may not be willing to travel down to my conveniently located Beauty World Center, which is just next to the Beauty World downtown line. And do register early. This is my contact, 82685299. And I'm very thankful for the parents' strong support all the years that all this 2 days training in June has been fully subscribed for the past 7 years. Because I keep my numbers small, maximum 8 students, and also due to the awareness or heightened alertness and social responsibility, those who are attending Run 1 and Run 2, they need to take ART, make sure it's negative, then I can accept them to attend the physical class on site. So do remember to subscribe to my 1Academy Science YouTube channel. The explanation I have recorded here will be put onto my YouTube channel. And once again, I wish students all the best. In case you can't attend full days, there's a special provision for 1 day at a prorated rate. And I wish you all the best. Stay safe, take care, and God bless.